in this episode, I'm going to officially tell you who I believe the Super Bowl contenders are for the 2020 NFL season. There's only one team that obviously can win the Super Bowl, and that team this year, in my opinion, is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Recently, I made an episode in which I talked about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I told you guys that they are my pick to win the Super Bowl. However, today, I want to list off all the other teams that, in my opinion, have a legit shot to win the Super Bowl for this upcoming NFL season in 2020. Without further ado, let's get right to it and find out who those teams are. So, the first team that I'm going to talk about in my Super Bowl bubble is a team that just missed. A team that's right on the outside looking in. That team is the Buffalo Bills. I like everything about Buffalo, except I'm not quite sold on Josh Allen. I recognize the Buffalo Bills won 10 games last season. I recognize the Buffalo Bills have a solid offensive line. I recognize Sean McDermott is one of the better head coaches in the entire NFL. I recognize the Buffalo Bills have a solid running game. I recognize they had a very good draft. I recognize that Stephon Diggs is going to improve that wide receiver core. I recognize that defense is one of the 5 best defenses in the entire NFL, in my opinion. This team's ceiling is going to come down to if Josh Allen consistently can make the big boy throws into tight windows, and if he can beat man coverage versus good defenses come playoff time. I do believe Buffalo is a playoff team. I'm just not quite sold on Josh Allen quite yet. Josh Allen had a rocky rookie season. I did not really hold that against him because he didn't have a whole lot of help around him. He was very inexperienced. He's a rookie. His second season, last year, he played much better. He improved. He got the team to the playoffs. But this year, I want to see Josh Allen pop, and I want to see Josh Allen be more consistent as a thrower. So if Josh Allen meets that criteria, Buffalo's a Super Bowl contender. But for now, they're just on the outside looking in. Now, I'm going to give you 2 obvious Super Bowl contenders right here, Baltimore and Kansas City. They're the 2 best teams in the AFC at the moment. Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. We both know they can play at an MVP level. Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are the last 2 MVP winners. I believe in both those guys. I believe in Patrick Mahomes more than Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson is nothing short of sensational. I do believe that both are elite quarterbacks at this moment. Kansas City is A+ at quarterback, A+ at head coach. They've got a top 10 defense that returns pretty much all their stars from last season. I expect that defense to potentially be a top 15 to top 10 unit once again. And listen, that offense is the most scary offense in the entire NFL. They got a solid offensive line led by Mitchell Schwartz. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU at running back now. That is an upgrade over Damian Williams, in my opinion. Travis Kelce, Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill. The list goes on and on. They got mad weapons, and they just won the Super Bowl last year. Kansas City is in that category for a Super Bowl contender. And Baltimore, they won 14 games last year, and they had the best offseason maybe out of any NFL team in the NFL. Okay? They had one of the 3 best off seasons, in my opinion, when you combine their free agency period and the draft, okay? Adding Calais Campbell and Derek Wolfe are definitely going to help that defensive line and that pass rush. Also, they had about 1 weakness on their defense from last season, which was inside linebacker. What they do, they go draft Patrick Queen. They go draft Malik Harrison out of Ohio State. Those were 2 of the best inside linebackers in that draft. Those guys are going to come right in from day one, in my opinion, to be immediate impactful players, in my opinion. They drafted Devin Duvernay and J.K. Dobbins to help out Lamar Jackson and that offense. You got Marquise Hollywood-Brown. You got Mark Andrews at tight end. Baltimore's good enough at wide receiver. The offensive line is pretty good as well. And yeah, Baltimore, led by Lamar Jackson and maybe the best defense in the entire NFL, they're a contender for the Super Bowl this upcoming season. And by the way, this is in no particular order, okay? Just to be very clear. This list right here, I'm just listing off teams. But next, I'm going to talk about Green Bay. I still think Green Bay is one of the better teams in the NFL, and Green Bay might be a top 5 team in the NFL, in my opinion. I still think Aaron Rodgers is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I expect Aaron Rodgers to go out and play very well this season. I do believe that he will be more efficient in the Matt LaFleur system in his second year in that system, throwing to Devontae Adams, a star wide receiver, throwing to Allen Lazard and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who are good, but not great, but they're good enough, in my opinion. And Marquez Valdes-Scantling, to me, has a chance to break out this year. Aaron Rodgers has 3 really good running backs at his disposal, led by Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon has a chance to come in and contribute at a high level for the Green Bay Packers. You still got a very solid defense, led by the Smith brothers coming off the edge, led by Jair Alexander in that secondary, who to me is a top 10 cornerback. You've got a very good safety duo, and Green Bay just won 13 games last year, and they were the 5th youngest team in the NFL last year. Now these guys know how to win. Now Aaron Rodgers, like I said, is in his 2nd season in the Matt LaFleur system, and listen, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play with a chip on his shoulder, and he'll play very well. Green Bay, to me, is an underrated Super Bowl contender, in my opinion, this year. Okay, up next, I'm going to talk about Tampa Bay. For those of you that do not know, I have Tampa Bay winning the Super Bowl this year. They're very, very good. I still think Tom Brady is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Tom Brady, last season, threw for 4,000 yards, had 24 touchdown passes to only 8 interceptions, behind a makeshift offensive line, and not great weapons on the outside of wide receiver. And listen, now Tom Brady has some of the best weapons that he's ever had. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Those are 2 star wide receivers. You look at the 3 really good tight ends in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady, he's going to have a lot of help on the outside of wide receiver. Not to mention they added Leonard Fournette. They still got Ronald Jones at running back. They drafted Keyshawn Vaughn out of Vanderbilt. They improved the offensive line. I think the front 7 is the most underrated front 7 in the entire NFL. Shaq Barrett and JPP are awesome off the edges. Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh are very good. Devin White and Levante David, that's a scary linebacker duo, and the secondary improved as the season went on, okay? So I think Tampa, they might be one of the best teams in the NFC, if not the best team in the NFC. That's why I have them winning the Super Bowl this year. I believe they're about a 12-win football team. Tampa, they're in the Super Bowl contender category because I have them winning the Super Bowl, okay? Seattle, up next, Seattle, they do have some holes. There is a ceiling to this team just because they do have a lack of a pass rush, and the offensive line does concern me a little bit. But Russell Wilson, he's the best player in all of football outside of Aaron Donald and Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. He's got 2 very good weapons in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They're solid at tight end. They got very good running backs. That secondary is very, very good, led by Jamal Adams. And listen, Seattle, they nearly won the division last year despite having a ton of injuries at the end of the year and all their running backs getting hurt. So I think Seattle, they're still a Super Bowl contending team. Russell Wilson has never had a losing season. Pete Carroll, to me, is a good head coach. I do think Pete Carroll gets a little bit too much criticism, but he's still, in my opinion, he's fine at head coach. He does have some flaws, but Pete Carroll's good enough of a head coach to win a Super Bowl for you, and I believe Seattle's in that category for Super Bowl contender. Up next, the 49ers, defending NFC champions, Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not in love with Jimmy Garoppolo, but we know that Jimmy Garoppolo can at least take you to the Super Bowl. Now, is he going to win you that thing? Maybe, maybe not. But now Jimmy Garoppolo is in his 2nd season as a full-time starter. Let's give Jimmy Garoppolo a fair shot to prove to the world that maybe he can be a top 10 quarterback. Maybe he can one day become a top 5 quarterback. I doubt he'll reach that level, but Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a good, solid quarterback. And I honestly think that adding Jordan Reed and adding Trent Williams to this team were 2 of the most underrated signings in the entire offseason. Jordan Reed, I think he has a chance to revitalize his career in San Francisco, playing opposite of George Kittle, the best tight end in all football, who's a monster. I think Trent Williams is an upgrade of what they had at offensive tackle last season, okay? He's very, very good. That defensive line is immaculate, led by Nick Bosa, led by D Ford. Javon Kinlaw is a very good rookie defensive tackle that I liked a lot when I was scouting him, when he was at South Carolina, okay? San Francisco, they're creative offensively. They can run the football, and they play very good defense. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a solid quarterback. I do think that San Francisco is a Super Bowl contender. Up next, New Orleans Saints. I'm not as high on the Saints as most people, but I still recognize Drew Brees is one of, if not the smartest quarterback in the NFL at the moment. He's one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL at the moment. Michael Thomas is a beast on the outside at wide receiver. They added Emmanuel Sanders. They still got Jared Cook, who played very well in the second half of the season last year. You got 2 good running backs in Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara, a very good offensive line that might be a top 3 unit in the entire NFL. In fact, I'm actually going to say it's a top 3 offensive line in the NFL. The Saints, their defensive line is very good. Their secondary is pretty good as well, led by Marshawn Lattimore and Malcolm Jenkins. And yeah, New Orleans, despite, in my opinion, having a ceiling, just because Drew Brees is no longer an elite quarterback, in my opinion, I still think Drew Brees is good, but he's no longer elite. I still think that New Orleans at least should be in the conversation. And keep in mind, New Orleans returns their entire coaching staff. They're familiar with their team. So I could see a situation in which I'm wrong about Tampa Bay just because of New Orleans' continuity this year. But New Orleans, yeah, I'm going to give them some respect today right here. The last 2 teams I'm a little bit skeptical of, but I'm going to put the Patriots, I'm going to put the Eagles in the Super Bowl contending category. I'm actually going to start with Philadelphia. What people have to realize about Philadelphia is they're very good at head coach. Doug Peterson, to me, is an elite head coach, and they're very good at quarterback. Carson Wentz is not quite an elite quarterback, but he's pretty darn close. Carson Wentz is one of the more talented quarterbacks in the NFL, and we saw last year that Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson can win games despite dealing with injuries on their roster. Doug Peterson has shown the ability to make the necessary adjustments week to week, and Carson Wentz has shown that he can put a team on his back and elevate under pressure, at least in the regular season from time to time, okay? So, listen, I don't care how talented Dallas is. I really don't, okay? Until Dallas proves to me that they can win big games, and until Dak Prescott proves to me they can beat good teams, I'm not picking Dallas to beat over Philadelphia this year. And not to mention Philadelphia, when they're a fully healthy roster, they're one of the better teams in the NFL. Very good defensive line. They added to the secondary by signing Nikhil Roby-Coleman, by getting Darius Slay in the building, who to me is the number one cornerback. That defensive line is very good, like I said. At wide receiver and tight end, I think Carson Wentz's weapons are actually underrated. What people have to realize is that when Philadelphia has a healthy wide receiver core, that wide receiver core is actually pretty good. Deshaun Jackson, one of the best deep threats in the entire NFL. Alshon Jeffrey, one of the best jump ball wide receivers in the entire NFL. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, that's one of the best tight end duos in the entire NFL. Dallas Goedert is probably the best backup tight end in the NFL. Outside of a couple other guys, he's definitely up there as far as being the best backup tight end in the NFL. And Zach Ertz, he's one of the 5 best tight ends in all football at the moment, okay? So Philadelphia, they're pretty good. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about the Patriots, okay? I actually think that Cam Newton could potentially become an upgrade over Tom Brady. Just because Cam Newton is motivated and Cam Newton is going to bring a new dynamic to this Patriots offense that Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels have not had since they've been in New England, okay? With Cam Newton's ability to run the football and make big boy throws down the field and just at least be able to avoid a sack or two if he needs to, he opens up that entire playbook for Bill Belichick. This is going to be one of the best running teams in the NFL, led by Sony Michel. Cam Newton definitely adds to that running game. I think New England will be good enough at wide receiver. You still got Julian Edelman. I expect N'Keal Harry to have a breakout season at wide receiver. I like N'Keal Harry a lot. When he was coming out of Arizona State, he had a choppy rookie season. I expect N'Keal Harry to play very well this season. And not to mention the Patriots, I expect them to have a top 10 defense just because Bill Belichick is the best defensive mind in the entire NFL. They still got Stephon Gilmore. They still got the entire secondary pretty much right there, right in front of us, okay? And listen, even in Bill Belichick's worst days coaching the Patriots defense, they usually are top 10 in scoring. They'll give up yards, but they'll be top 10 in scoring. So as long as Bill Belichick and Cam Newton can get into the tournament, they're dangerous, okay? And listen, the Patriots, they won 12 games last year, okay? I'm not too overly concerned about the opt-outs because Bill Belichick, he's the best head coach in the NFL, arguably still to this day. And the Patriots, I still think they're dynamic enough at certain areas on their team. There is a ceiling with this team, however, but they should at least be in the Super Bowl hunt for all the reasons that I mentioned. So there you have it right there. My Super Bowl contenders in no particular order are Kansas City, Baltimore, Green Bay, Tampa, Seattle, the 49ers, the Saints, the Patriots, and the Philadelphia Eagles, along with the Buffalo Bills, who just missed out on the Super Bowl bubble. Those are your Super Bowl contenders for the 2020 NFL season, at least in my opinion. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.